Hello everyone and welcome to the Fremont Debate Academy. In this video, we'll be going over what the proposition and opposition third speeches do. Keep in mind that a full summary of what they do can be found at the end of this video. Now to start off, the opposition third speech is the last chance that the opposition gets to speak in the debate. It's also the second speech in the opposition block. The opposition block is what we call the combined opposition second and third speeches, which is ultimately 10 minutes that the opposition gets to speak in. Now, the proposition third speech is the last speech in the debate. Both of these speeches are also 5 minutes long. What do the third speeches do? Well, in summary, the third speeches summarize the refutes and counter-refutes, summarize their side's points, and provide a two-word analysis. Let's start off with the first step, which is to summarize the refutes and counter-refutes. Now, the opposition third speaker is going to build on what the opposition second speaker says. Keep in mind that the opposition second speaker has hopefully already refuted everything the proposition has said. This means the opposition third speaker isn't going to bring up their own refutes, nor are they going to simply restate what the opposition second speaker says. Rather, they're going to summarize the refutes and emphasize which ones are the most important. However, the proposition third speaker needs to do two things here. They need to first summarize the previous refutes that the proposition second speaker gave, and they also have to refute what the opposition second and third speaker said. The second step is to summarize your points. You're going to talk about the most important parts of your case. What are the most important facts or statistics or evidence or impacts? Don't just restate your case or once again say what your previous speakers have already stated. Rather, you're going to emphasize the important parts. What parts of your case are going to make or break the debate? What are stuff that the judge seemed like they really appreciated? What are some parts of your case that your opponents didn't respond to? That's what you should be emphasizing. Keep in mind that the third speakers can't bring up new points, rather they're just going to emphasize the important parts of the points that previous speakers already said. Finally, you should make sure to impact your points out. Explain why they matter. Don't just say that the economy is going to go down. Explain why it's important the economy goes down. Well, it's important because people won't have jobs, which means they can't afford basic stuff like food or rent, which means they have a worse quality of life. Let's do a quick draw here. Pick which is the best impact, and keep in mind there might be multiple right answers here. Pause the video, and when you have your answer, feel free to unpause. Ready? All right, so the first impact is going to work. The first impact is the environment getting destroyed, means not enough food gets produced, meaning people will starve. You're taking a relatively simple concept, which is the environment getting destroyed, and then tying it into more important and more meaningful stuff, such as not enough food getting produced or people starving. If you just tell someone the environment is getting destroyed, they're probably not going to be understanding the true magnitude of that as much as they would if you said people are going to starve or not enough food's getting produced. That's also why the second impact doesn't work here, because you're not explaining why the impact being the environment is actually important. Now, the third impact is perfect because it says without a strong environment, millions of animals will go extinct. Again, you're taking a relatively simple impact, which is static the environment, and tying it into something more important, which is animals dying out. Now, the fourth impact, which is I need my part to play soccer, probably isn't going to be the best. Think of it this way. If you were the judge and one side said the maximum impact is they need a part to play soccer, and the other side said the impact is millions of animals are going extinct, you're going to be more likely to buy the side that says millions of animals will go extinct because that's the impact that matters more. Again, in the impacts, you're just trying to get the judge to understand why the point is important. In summary, do you repeat everything that was said before, or do you just say the important parts? Well, you only want to say the important parts because you're not restating points that were already said before, rather you're simply emphasizing what's actually relevant to the debate and what's going to make or break your case. Now, the third and final thing that both third speakers do is the two-word analysis. Here are two words. I want you to take out a piece of paper or a Google document or something and write down what comes to mind as you look at this picture. Now write down what comes to mind as you look at this picture. Pause the video if you need some extra time here. Let's compare both of these words. What words did you think of when looking at the first picture? Well, you probably think of technology, you probably think future, you think environment, you think super smooth, and you think high tech. However, when you look at the second picture, you think of sadness, you think of gloominess, you think of smoke, no environment, no nature, and in complete utter desolation. So what would the proposition say? Well, in this example, the proposition would say, in our world, we have clear skies and well-made buildings. However, in our opponent's world, the air is bad quality and the buildings are unstable. That's an example of a two-world analysis for two quite literally different worlds. Now, in a debate context, what you might say in a topic, for example, the minimum wage, is in our world, we get rid of poverty, more people have jobs, and we save lives. However, in our opponent's world, more people are unemployed, they can't afford basic needs, meaning they hurt more lives. See what we're doing here? We're emphasizing the good parts of our world, and then we're comparing that to the bad parts of our opponent's world. And that's what we call a two-world analysis. Why is a two-world analysis important? Well, it's an easy way to compare both sides of the debate. Even if your points aren't as strong as your opponent's points, or you don't have as strong of the impacts or your reasoning isn't as well developed, you can still prove that your impacts matter more than your opponent's impacts and still win the debate. Again, winning or losing a debate all boils down to who can connect their points to the biggest possible idea. How do you do a two-word analysis? Well, a two-word analysis puts the entire debate on a weighing scale. You can show that you have more good things in your world, meaning you win the debate. You're comparing the good of your world to the bad of your opponent's world. Here are some tips for making a two-word analysis. You should try to consider the following questions. Are your impacts more likely to happen than your opponent's impacts? Are your impacts more important than your opponent's impacts? Do you affect more people? Are your impacts irreversible? Are your impacts short-term or long-term? Answering these questions helps you compare your impacts against your opponents. Here's an example for the topic, homework does more good than harm. What a proposition speaker would say is, in our world, in a world with homework, people do better in school overall and people would get better jobs. So we decrease unemployment and poverty, ultimately meaning people live better lives. However, in our opponent's world, which is a world without homework, people aren't learning in schools and less people can get jobs. So our opponents are increasing unemployment and poverty, meaning people live a worse life. Now, Judge, which world do you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world where no one is in poverty and where everyone can get a job if they want? Or do you want to live in a world where no one has enough money to afford basic necessities such as food? It's obvious that you want our world because it's better, so vote for a world with homework. Now let's go over a time breakdown for the third speakers. Now, both third speakers should be spending about 2 minutes summarizing refutes. Keep in mind that the proposition third speaker should also be directly responding to what the opposition second and third speakers say. Next, both speakers should be spending about 90 seconds summarizing your points. You don't want to restate the points, nor do you want to simply repeat what the previous speaker has already said. Rather, you just want to emphasize the important parts of all your points. The most important thing to do here is the impact. If you can just focus on one section of the points, it should be the impact section because that does make or break the debate at this point. Now you should be spending about 90 seconds on your two-word analysis, where you compare your word against your opponent's word and explain why the good of your word is better than the bad of your opponent's word. Remember, ultimately, these are just suggestions. You should do what's most logical in the round based on your understanding. Also, don't be alarmed if you're not able to completely meet these time recommendations, especially if you're just starting out in your debate career. Hopefully, by the end of this program, you should be able to meet the 5-minute mark for the third speeches. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments of this video. If you liked and enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe for more content such as this. See you next time.